prospect of all I can achieve so easily. I shall be more so when I look back upon it and all is done, I know." "Your tears fall faster as you talk of happiness," said Nicholas, "and you shun the contemplation of that dark future which must be laden with so much misery to you. Defer this marriage for a week, for but 1 week. He was talking when you came upon us just now, with such smiles as I remember to have seen of old, and have not seen for many and many a day, of the freedom that was to come tomorrow," said Madeline with momentary firmness. "Of the welcome change, the fresh air, all the new scenes and objects that would bring fresh life to his exhausted frame." His eye grew bright, and his face lightened at the thought. "I will not defer it for an hour." "These are but tricks and wiles to urge you on," cried Nicholas. "I'll hear no more," said Madeline hurriedly. "I have heard too much, much more than I should already. What I have said to you, sir, I have said as to the dear friend to whom I trust in you honourably to repeat it. Some time hence, when I am more composed and reconciled to my new mode of life, if I should live so long, I will write to him. Meantime, all holy angels shower blessings on his head, and prosper and preserve him." She was hurrying past Nicholas when he threw himself before her and implored her to think, but once again, upon the fate to which she was precipitately hastening. "There is no retreat," said Nicholas, in an agony of supplication, "no withdrawing. All regret will be unavailing, and deep and bitter it must be. What can I say that will induce you to pause at this last moment? What can I do to save you?" "Nothing," she incoherently replied. "This is the hardest trial I have had. Have mercy on me, sir, I beseech, and do not pierce my heart with such appeals as these. I hear him calling. I must not, will not remain here for another instant." "If this were a plot," said Nicholas, with the same violent rapidity with which she spoke, "a plot not yet laid bare by me, but which with time I might unravel, if you were, not knowing it, entitled to fortune of your own, which being recovered, would do all that this marriage can accomplish, would you not retract?" "No, no, no, it is impossible. It is a child's tale. Time would bring his death. He is calling me again." "It may be the last time we shall ever meet on earth," said Nicholas. "It may be better for me that we should never meet more." For both," replied Madeline, not heeding what she said. "The time will come when to recall the memory of this one interview might drive me mad. Be sure to tell them that you left me calm and happy, and God be with you, sir, and my grateful heart and blessing." She was gone. Nicholas, staggering from the house, thought of the hurried scene which had just closed upon him, as if it were the phantom of some wild, unquiet dream. The day wore on. At night, having been enabled in some measure to collect his thoughts, he issued forth again. That night, being the last of Arthur Gride's bachelorship, found him in tip-top spirits and great glee. The bottle-green suit had been brushed, ready for the morrow. Peg Sliderskew had rendered the accounts of her past housekeeping. The 18 pence had been rigidly accounted for. She never trusted with a larger sum at once, and the accounts were not usually balanced more than twice a day. Every preparation had been made for the coming festival, and Arthur might have sat down and contemplated his approaching happiness, but that he preferred sitting down and contemplating the entries in a dirty old vellum book with rusty clasps. "Well a day," he chuckled, as sinking on his knees before a strong chest, screwed down to the floor, he thrust in his arm nearly up to the shoulder, and slowly drew forth this greasy volume. "Well a day now, this is all my library, but it's one of the most entertaining books that were ever written. It's a delightful book, and all true and real. That's the best of it. True as the Bank of England, and real as its gold and silver. Written by Arthur Gride. Hee. None of your storybook writers will ever make a good book as this, I warrant me. It's composed for private circulation, for my own particular reading, and nobody else's. Ha ha ha!" Muttering this soliloquy, Arthur carried his precious volume to the table, and, adjusting it upon a dusty desk, put on his spectacles and began to pore among the leaves. "It's a large sum to Mr. Nickleby," he said in a dolorous voice. "Debt to be paid in full, 975.43. Additional sum as per bond, £500, £1,475, 4 shillings and 3 pence. Tomorrow at 12 o'clock. On the other side, though, there's the per contra, by means of this pretty chick. But again, there's the question whether I mightn't have brought all this about myself. Faint heart never won fair lady. Why was my heart so faint? Why didn't I boldly open it to Bray myself, and save 1,475.43? These reflections depressed the old usurer so much as to wring a feeble groan or two from his breast, and cause him to declare, with uplifted hands, that he would die in a workhouse. Remembering, on further cogitation, however, that under any circumstances he might have paid or handsomely compounded for Ralph's debt, and being by no means confident that he would have succeeded, had he undertaken his enterprise alone, he regained his equanimity, and chattered and mowed over the satisfactory items until the entrance of Peg Sliderskew interrupted him. "Ah, Peg," said Arthur, "what is it? What is it now, Peg?" "It's the fowl," replied Peg, holding up a plate containing a very little one. "Quite a phenomenon of a fowl, so very small and skinny." "A beautiful bird," said Arthur, after inquiring the price, and finding it proportionate to its size, "with a rasher of ham, and an egg made into sauce, and potatoes and greens, and an apple of pudding. Peg, and a little bit of cheese. We shall have a dinner for an emperor. There'll only be she and me, and you, Peg, when we've done." "Don't you complain of the expense afterwards," said Mrs. Sliderskew sulkily. "I'm afraid we must live expensively for the first week," returned Arthur with a groan, "and then we must make up for it. I won't eat more than I can help, and I know you love your old master too much to eat more than you can help. Don't you, Peg?" "Don't I what?" said Peg. "Love your old master too much? No, not a bit too much," said Peg. "Oh dear, I wish the devil had this woman," cried Arthur. "Love him too much to eat more than you can help at his expense." "At his what?" said Peg. "Oh dear, she can never hear the most important word, and hears all the others," whined cried. "At his expense, you catamaran." The last mentioned tribute to the charms of Mrs. Sliderskew being uttered in a whisper, that lady assented to the general proposition by a harsh growl, which was accompanied by a ring at the street door. "There's the bell," said Arthur. Aye, I know that," rejoined Peg. "Then why don't you go?" bawled Arthur. "Go where?" retorted Peg. "I ain't doing any harm here, am I?" Arthur Gride, in reply, repeated the word bell as loud as he could roar, and, his meaning being rendered further intelligible to Mrs. Sliderskew's dull sense of hearing by pantomime expressive of ringing at a street door, Peg hobbled out, after sharply demanding why he hadn't said there was a ring before, instead of talking about all manner of things that had nothing to do with it, and keeping her half-pint of beer waiting on the steps. "There's a change come over you, Mrs. Peg," said Arthur, following her out with his eyes. "What it means I don't quite know, but if it lasts we shan't agree together long, I see. You are turning crazy, I think. If you are, you must take yourself off, Mrs. Peg, or be taken off. All's one to me." Turning over the leaves of his book, as he muttered this, he soon lighted upon something which attracted his attention, and forgot Peg Sliderskew and everything else in the engrossing interest of its pages. The room had no other light than that which it derived from a dim and dirt-clogged lamp, whose lazy wick, being still further obscured by a dark shade, cast its feeble rays over a very little space, and left all beyond in heavy shadow. This lamp the money-lender had drawn so close to him that there was only room between it and himself for the book over which he bent, and as he sat, with his elbows on the desk and his sharp cheek-bones resting on his hands, it only served to bring out his ugly features in strong relief, together with the little table at which he sat, and to shroud all the rest of the chamber in a deep sullen gloom. Raising his eyes and looking vacantly into this gloom, as he made some mental calculation, Arthur Gride suddenly met the fixed gaze of a man. "Thieves! Thieves!" cried the usurer, starting up and folding his book to his breast. "Robbers! Murder!" "What's the matter?" said the form, advancing. "Keep off!" cried the trembling wretch. "Is it a man or a— "For what do you take me if not for a man?" was the inquiry. Yes, cried Arthur Gride, shading his eyes with his hand. "It is a man, and not a spirit. It is a man. Robbers! Robbers!" For what are these cries raised, unless indeed you know me, and have some purpose in your brain.